What's up guys, I'm Jeff Rizzo from RizKnows.com. Today we're checking out something that's really awesome. It is the Garmin VIRB 360. So this is a full spherical 360 action camera. So picture like a GoPro or the Garmin VIRB Ultra 30, but it records everything around you all at once. That's why it has two lenses. So one on the back, one in the front, and everything is captured. And then the camera, the software within it, actually stitches it together to make a 360 video, which is pretty awesome. I mean, it's really similar to the Monster Vision VR, which we checked out a while back, the Yi 360, and the soon-to-be announced or soon-to-be showcased GoPro Fusion, which we haven't reviewed yet, but of course we will in the future. I think you guys are gonna be really impressed by this camera. I think Garmin did an awesome job, and here's what you need to know about it. All right, so first things first, the VIRB 360 retails, at least right now, for $800, which is just bananas. I think people aren't really willing to spend more than $600 for their first VR camera. Even then, that's pretty expensive, but I think $800 is just crazy. I do expect that we'll probably see the price point come down at some point. I mean, no one's told me that, I'm just guessing because $800 is really high for a camera. All right, so getting back to the VIRB 360, it's a bit bigger and heavier than like your standard GoPro out there. Like if you put it on a helmet, you will notice it on there, but it's still pretty compact if you think about it, considering all that it can do. It shoots spherical footage up to 5.7K at 30 frames per second. So that's unstitched. You'll need professional third-party software to stitch that together. So when you look at it on your SD card, it will be two files. Now, most people will end up using 4K at 30 frames per second, and that is stitched in the camera, so that'll be full 360 video that you can view right now and share with your friends. That's pretty awesome. That's what we've been using. But also, and here's something I think is pretty cool that Garmin did, they made it so you can enable one of the lenses and not the other. So you can enable just the front lens and use it as a standard action camera. So if you want to bring both, you don't really have to because you can just bring this camera and it shoots all the way up to 1080p at 120 frames per second. So that is technically slow-mo. And one thing that you will notice is that Garmin does a really good job of stitching together the video because it is multiple different images and they stitch it together. You won't see those lines. You won't see the footage that's fused together. I think that's really awesome. I think they did a great job. The one thing is you can actually toggle between where it stitches near or far. And if you have it farther out, then the near stuff, if your thumb is right next to the lens, you'll see that stitch. But typically, really good at stitching together the footage. And then the other thing that's cool is that Garmin gives you the ability to manually adjust certain video settings. So you can change the ISO, the white balance, the sharpness, all of that stuff. It's kind of like the Pro Tune feature from GoPro, but I like seeing it on the camera so you can actually make some of those manual adjustments. It does have 4 microphones, so around the outside of the camera, so you'll pick up audio and omnidirectional, so you get audio from all different directions. It does mean if you have wind that you'll hear the wind noise a little bit more because it's not shielding one of the microphones, but still having 4 microphones is really nice. And then you also have image stabilization, but it's actual stabilization that happens with playback. So the camera itself doesn't have the image stabilization, and you'll actually see it when you're playing back the video within the Garmin VIRB software. Now it's only gonna work for footage that is stitched. So the 5.7K footage, you won't be able to see it stabilized, but for the 4K stuff, it will be stabilized. And I like having that. I think it's pretty cool. It's not as good as optical image stabilization, but it's still really nice to have. And then in addition to video, you also have a time-lapse mode and a photo mode. So you can take full spherical time lapses and photos if you want. So really immersive stuff. I don't know how many people will end up using a 360 camera, but I think this stuff's pretty awesome. And then here are a few other things that you want to know about the VIRB 360. It is water resistant down to 10 meters out of the box without an external housing unit. That means you don't have to bring with you extra accessories just to make it water resistant when you bring it to the pool or to the lake or wherever. I love having that. I think that's actually really nice to have. That means the microphones are never covered up, and I just think that's a lot more convenient that way. Now, speaking of like the whole durability type of thing, I think it's going to be decently durable. It is an action camera. However, we have already scratched one of the lenses, which was surprising to me. Now, you may be able to pop those off in the future or get like other accessories and stuff for it, but we have scratched one. It just hasn't shown up in the video. We can't tell that it's scratched, but we can see right now that it is scratched. I don't know if that's really going to play a factor in the future, but I was a little bit surprised by that. Now it also has a really clear sunlight readable display for like changing the settings and all that stuff. You can't directly view your media that way, but it is just super simple to change from video mode to photo mode, time-lapse mode, adjust some of the settings. I like having that. The physical buttons are really easy to use. And then it also comes in the box with a tripod / hand grip mount, so you can use it like as a selfie stick, or you can set it up and use it like a little mini tripod. That's cool to have. Plus it has threads on the bottom, so you can attach it to most tripods by itself. That's cool. And it comes in the box with an attachment to make it work with other Garmin VIRB Ultra 30 accessories and also GoPro accessories. So what's really nice about that is if you don't already have a bunch of accessories and mounts and all that stuff, you can just go onto like Amazon and get a really cheap bundle. You can get like a chest strap mount, or you can get like a head mount or other tripods, suction cups, all that sort of stuff. So I like that that comes in the box and it will be compatible. And then it also has a voice control feature, so you can use it hands-free. Let's say you have the camera on the other side of the room or you just can't touch it. You can tell it to start and stop recording, take photos, all of that stuff. That will eat into battery life, but that's kind of cool that it does have the voice control feature that we saw on like the VIRB Ultra 30 and some of the other GoPros out there. It also has Wi-Fi for working with the VIRB mobile app. That allows you to see the footage that you've already recorded, to see what the shot is going to look like that you're about to take, to edit things, make adjustments, and then you can upload straight to YouTube or to Facebook. You also have a VIRB desktop software as well, that's PC and Mac. And then the camera has Bluetooth for wireless headsets and microphones, NFC, a barometer, gyroscope, accelerometer, built-in GPS and GLONASS, and ANT+. And then what you're going to get from these last few things is something Garmin calls G-metrics. So you've heard it before probably in the past, but essentially what the camera will do is record certain things about what you're doing, like your speed, your distance, your elevation, even your route. And then also it'll work with ANT+ accessories like heart rate monitors, and it can take that information and augment on the screen on top of your footage things about what you're doing. So you can get charts and graphs and gauges about like your speed. You can get a speed graph or a speed chart, all of that stuff to tell the viewer more about what you're doing. I think it's pretty cool. Of course, it does eat into battery life, but I think it helps with making a more immersive experience. And I think it's really cool that they've been able to put that into the footage. I really like G-metrics. Anybody that's doing a ton of like action sports, I think it's something that would be useful and kind of fun to have. And now I've mentioned battery life more than a few times. It's a hot spot. Max battery life for the VIRB 360 is about an hour of continuous footage. Of course, most users are not going to get that because of things like G-metrics and voice commands, and you'll be tinkering with it and playing around with it. Expect 45 minutes or less, right around 30 to 45 minutes, probably for the average person. Now you can detach the battery and get separate batteries if you want. So if you're really concerned about battery life, you can just pop in a new battery. But overall, a pretty freaking awesome camera. I've enjoyed testing it. I think a lot of people out there will really like it.